How does an innocent child become full of hate and bent on death? And why are these radical and hostile agents preparing to destroy our way of life? Join us as we reveal the truth behind radical Islam today on Jewish Voice.
These days, many leaders are trying to convince us that the God of Abraham and the God of Islam are one and the same. Well, my guest today is a former Muslim and Islamic terrorist who can help us understand the profound contrast between the two. His personal mission is to awaken Americans concerning the methods that radical Islam is using to advance its agenda in the West. Please welcome back to Jewish Voice our friend Kamal Saleem. Kamal, hello my friend. Welcome back to Jewish Voice. Great to have you. Well, if you are expecting a politically correct program today, change the channel. But if you want to hear the truth, you're going to hear the truth right now. Kamal, it's politically correct to say that Islam is a religion of love, that the God of Islam, the God of Christianity, the God of Judaism are one and the same. In fact, that all paths lead to the same place. But the God of Islam and the God of Israel are not the same God, are they?
That's very, very true. In Islam and in Christianity and Judaism, they differ. Islam is completely different. Islam is not a loving religion, it's conditional love, while Christianity and Judaism is unconditional. This is where God loves so much, you know. The God of Islam, his name is Allah. He's mentioned in the book of Isaiah. In the book of Isaiah 14, God was talking to Satan. He said, you have reasoned in your heart, and you have, you know, set yourself above the star of God and set your throne on a mount of assembly. So today, you know, what Satan was calling himself is he's greater than God himself, than Jehovah God Almighty. And he's declaring himself he is greater, which is in Islam today to refer to him Allahu Akbar, which is he's greater than God himself. So what happened is today we found the Dome of the Rock and we found, you know, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, both of them on the Mount of Assembly, where, you know, Jesus is supposed to return. And over there he has declared.
Where the Holy of Holies was in an ancient temple.
That's exactly right. But when we examine both gods, you know, many Muslims say, no, we worship the same God. And many leaders say we worship the same God. We don't, because one God so loved the world. The other God, he said in the hadith, in Islamic Sharia law, he said, if the whole world worth a net like to him, he'd have destroyed it time and time again. But it's worth nothing to him. The God, our God, Jehovah God Almighty, sent his only begotten Son. You know, he came specifically to save humanity, while he came to bring about the sonship and bring to adoption humanity back to the throne of God. Allah brought Muhammad, who was an orphan, and he, in himself, he took humanity from the truth of Jehovah God Almighty to make them orphan. It's an orphan spirit, while the other one is the sonship spirit. One take away from God and one brings to God. But at the end of the day, when Jesus Christ died for his people and he offered his blood as a living sacrifice, while Muhammad, since the beginning of Islam, inception of Islam, Islam has been taking blood of the world to bring people to Islam.
So there's a huge contrast. I mean, we're talking about opposites. Kamal, I want people to understand that we're not trying to teach something racist, but the reality is that Islam as a religion, the Quran, doesn't teach about love, it doesn't teach about forgiveness, it doesn't teach about coexistence. It teaches something very different. But I want you to go back and talk about your history, because I want people to understand you were deeply embedded in this system, and you were actually a Islamic terrorist. Talk about that.
At the age of 5, I was part of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood is the most radical organization that the whole world is facing today, specifically America. You know, we're seeing what's happening in the Middle East, and we'll talk about that later. But nevertheless, I was also part of the PLO when the Muslim Brotherhood joined the PLO, and now I went on missions for Islam to die or to kill for the sake of Allah.
And if you just joined us, I'm talking with Kamal Saleem, a former Islamic terrorist and the author of this riveting book, The Blood of Lambs. What an amazing testimony.
In 2004, there was a big a commotion about the Holy Land Foundation trial, and took place in Dallas, Texas. And what was happening, there was an imam driving on a bridge between Maryland and between Washington, D.C. And as he's driving on that bridge, what happened is he stopped and he came out of the car and he was taking a film of the bridge. That's the biggest bridge there is, between the two states. And so what happened, two policemen stopped him, and after they stopped him, they found he had many other videos. They were taking videos of our nuclear manufacture. They took pictures and films of our military school system, about the bus system, about forestries, how they can infiltrate and terrorize. This imam, his name is Ibrahim al-Abrasi. And what happened is when they went and checked into his home, they found in his home, in his basement, there's a dug-in sub-basement where his documentation were hid. In there, he was the head of the Muslim Brotherhood to lead Islam in America and to establish Sharia. So what happened, they found in his basement two manifestos. The first one is called the Islamic Memorandum, and this is how they're going to infiltrate the United States of America. And the other one is called the Project. And in the Project, how they're going to destroy the world and where America fits in all this, and how they're going to change the Islamic world from moderate to radical, and how they're going to bring the Western civilization to submission.
So it planned out in detail. Okay, so talk about these two, the manifesto and the project.
In the first one, in the memorandum, Ibrahim al-Abrasi said, our cause in the United States of America is not to be equal to the American people, but to be above them. And so therefore, our law in here, if we could not establish this, we have not come to understand what Islam is yet. So he said, and in doing so, we must infiltrate the government, the medical system, the homeland, the colleges, universities, the medical institute, and many others, including the church. And with this, what happened is they were trying to infiltrate, and they are infiltrating little by little to sever the culture so the culture can fight against itself.
What you're sharing with us is that this is a very systematic, calculated, organized plan to take over the United States or to infiltrate the U.S. with Sharia law.
That's very, very true. The first group of the Muslim Brotherhood came in 1960. Between 60 and 62, they infiltrated the United States of America. My group came in the early 80s.
So we're talking about a half century now.
That's right.
This has been going on a long time.
Yeah, America, it's the Trojan horse that, Islam does not work instantly. It works from generation to generation. After the fall of the Ottoman Empire in 1924, the Muslim Brotherhood rose in 1928. What is the Muslim Brotherhood purpose in the world? The Muslim Brotherhood, they have the earth in a green circle, two swords under it, and the word says wa'audu, meaning we will come back. So what happened is the whole world will become Islamic, and if you don't come to Islam by any method, then you have the sword as your way to come to surrender. So they have to bring Islam to the world one way or another, and they're coming back. Their call is to bring about Sharia law to the whole world government and establish Islamization in every country, just like establishing cancer, that sooner or later that will be the law of the land. How do we know this? This is what's happening all over Europe. They're advancing Islamization. Look at Denmark. There are so many states now that they're only Muslim, and these Muslims are not abiding in the laws of the government. So they said we abide in the law of Islamic law, Sharia law. So what happened is, we talked about the project. The project, it has 7 steps. The first step in 2000, between 2000 and 2002, the Muslim Brotherhood and Al-Qaeda and all those will attack the United States and declare war in the United States. After that, what happened the years after to come is the second part, is where the Muslims are aware that, there's crusaders an Islamic war happening worldwide. The third level, the third part of the project, third leg, what happened is they start recruiting from moderate Islam to radical Islam. The fourth one, they start turning the moderate Muslim country to Islamist country, meaning radical countries.
Okay, so let's look at Egypt. You have an Islamic country that has a peace, a cold but still a peace with Israel under Mubarak. Now, the Arab Spring, and the result is a radicalized Islamic-controlled government.
Correct.
Right?
What happened, and we talked about...
By the way, I should mention also, so everyone knows, that the Brotherhood was outlawed in Egypt. It's been outlawed since the 1920s.
It was outlawed in the United States as a radical
organization. And it was the Muslim Brotherhood that assassinated Sadat for offering peace with Israel.
Correct.
But now they've slipped back in, haven't they?
Well, our government said, Muslim Brotherhood are a social organization, they're good people. While in the previous administration, they were enemy of the United States of America. They were a terrorist organization.
What does this all mean for Israel?
Islam want to destroy Israel. The sole purpose of Islam to destroy Christianity and to destroy Judaism. And so therefore, what we're finding in here, that ultimately the ultimate goal is to pour over Israel and destroy Israel. Even now, they're calling for Turkey to come back to the forefront and lead the leadership, and become the ultimate empire all over again against Israel. And we saw this is taking place. But nevertheless, right now the Arab Spring is not an Arab Spring. It's agenda, Muslim Brotherhood agenda, led even by United States of America, current administration. That it's not just led, but financed when we send them weapons, when we send them everything that they need, and now they're piercing into those and succeeding.
Wow.
And we are protecting them in this.
There's so much more we can talk about. We have some materials that we're going to offer that you've brought with you. We want to sow it into your life. We don't sell materials, but our philosophy here at Jewish Voice is to sow into your life, to educate you as you sow into this ministry and help us reach the Jewish people while it's yet day. Radical Islam, what you need to know, why America and Israel are targets for destruction, and also your incredible testimony, a former terrorist memoir of death and redemption, The Blood of Lambs. Really want to encourage you to get these resources. Just a final thought, and that is people that are watching the program today, almost entirely believers. What can people that are watching do? We're bringing this to their attention because this is the truth, but what can they do? What should people watching do to stand against this growing threat and this infiltration?
We are called to be the salt and light in such time as this, meaning to stand up for truth and declare the truth, and fight from truth. Furthermore, start taking stand and start calling on things before God. He said, call upon me and I will answer you and show you great and mighty things you do not know. And when Islam rises in our streets, in our government, in our place, we need to set a standard before God and declare that God is sovereign, and we will not take it as American. Let our voice be heard.
The weapons of our warfare are mighty. Why do we talk about these things? Because deceivers have come into the church, into the body of Messiah, and are trying to convince us that it's the same God, and it's not the same God.
No.
And the men of Issachar were wise because they understood the times, and you need to understand the times. I really, really urge you to get these materials, and pray for Kamal. He's obviously, by proclaiming the truth as a former terrorist, is in quite a bit of danger, and we know God will protect him, but he needs your prayers. Kamal, keep up the great work. We love you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.